Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the study session for tonight's meeting. Mary, will you roll call, please?
Here.
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 Wonderful. Mr. Lavender, turn over to you.
Good evening, President Wilkie, governing board members. Mr. Wilkie and I have been meeting recently to discuss the format for governing board meetings, and one of the things that we talked about was the need to educate on our different district operations and programs. And so tonight we have two individuals from Vista Grande High School, our Dean of Students, Lorena Jimenez, who kind of oversees our counseling department at Vista, and then Mia Khan, who was recently recognized as the Southwest District Key Club Outstanding Advisor. So both of them are here tonight to talk to you about our counseling operations for all three of our schools. So this is Ms. Jimenez and Ms. Khan. I'll turn it over to you. They've been working very diligently on this presentation. They rehearsed it for a couple hours.
I didn't want anybody to know that I rehearsed it, but it's all right.
They have just threw it all together.
Yeah. Good evening, Governing Board President Wilkie, Governing Board members, Superintendent Mr. Lavender. I'm Lorena Jimenez. I'm the Dean of Students at Vista Grande High School. I want to thank you for having me here tonight and allowing me to talk about something that I think is the heart of our schools. I'm very passionate about this topic because I was a counselor for over 20 years. And in fact, Mr. Lavender hired me for my first counseling position in Casa Grande. Our district counselors, in all those years, I have not had the opportunity to talk about what the importance of our school counselors. So I appreciate this opportunity. Our district counselors are the Google of our school systems, and throughout this presentation, you will see how they are the Google. I will be giving you an overview of what they do and some of their challenges. Many studies show that the primary factor in resilience is having caring and supportive relationships within and outside the family. Every student in our school district belongs to one of these counselors you see up on the screen. Belonging strengthens resilience, it lowers stress levels, boosts the immune system, and it makes the heart get stronger. Our counselors have a sense of responsibility for each student. They take pride in each student's successes, and over the 4 years, they build a strong connection with their students. Now, every student support is different, and some students see their counselors almost daily, but regardless, counselors are always checking in. Behind the scenes, they review their students' academic status as well as identifying needs, additional support needs. They do quick check-ins, and every student is met with at least once per semester. Counselors work for and support all the people on this pie. Counselors have to remember to be conscious when guiding a student that everything has to flow for all of the stakeholders. The counselors are the mediators between the people on this wheel. For example, a student might have a conflict with a teacher. The counselor has to validate the feelings of the student while supporting the teacher and finding a solution that's going to work for all. How can they help? A counselor's role starts with a good scheduling, and this is a year-round job. It is their number one priority to schedule students correctly and keep the students on track. They make sure their schedules match their career and college plans while ensuring that class sizes are optimal for student learning and teacher engagement. Counselors encourage students to advocate for themselves in all aspects of their lives, including school, work, and home. The ultimate goal is for students to be focused and ready to learn. If a student is distracted, counselors provide short-term personal, social, emotional support. If long-term counseling is needed, parents are contacted and information for outside resources is provided. Counselors provide huge assistance with scholarship, college, and financial aid applications. They hunt students down to complete these items. They assist with proofreading, brainstorming, and meeting all the application requirements, including letters of rec. They also help them advocate and request letters of recommendation. They help them brainstorm things that they've accomplished throughout the 4 years in high school. Now, throughout all of these items, parent communication is key. Counselors use multiple means of communication such as Parent Square, email, social media, school website, phone calls, Calendly for appointments, and parent-teacher conferences. So they're very readily available. Data is important for counselors to effectively meet stakeholders' needs. This is accomplished by using our information school system, which is PowerSchool. The counselors are experts in running reports and comparing data. They look at the trends regarding failed coursework, test scores, and grade distributions. For example, they look to answer where are students struggling the most and what resources do we need to implement? They use Excel spreadsheets to monitor graduation status. This allows them to identify students with the greatest needs and prioritize. The data is also used to determine eligibility for various scholastic and leadership opportunities. They're also event planners. They plan school-wide events such as open house, college and career fairs, resource fairs, academic evening, registration, FAFSA, and CTE CAVIT showcases. They bring college and universities to campus. They take students on field trips. Through these events, our students are given the opportunity to connect with outside organizations. And most of these events are offered after school hours so that parents can attend as well. Counselors take students on field trips to connect them with further college and career opportunities. A great example of this is our CAVIT field trip. These opportunities expose our students to post-secondary options. Within their role and everything all the things that the counselors can offer, they do experience challenges outside of their control. So I've broken this down based on global, school, and individual issues. So while trying to motivate students, counselors come across problems that have no solution. Not every student has access to the same resources, and students may be a significant provider for their family's incomes. A counselor may be talking to a student about improving their attendance or their tardies when the student shares that they've worked until midnight to ensure that they have a roof over their head or to help with the family's expenses. How can a counselor tell a student that school is more important than their family responsibilities and their livelihood? That's one of the biggest challenges. And how does college play in this? Students don't even want to entertain the idea of college because it is so far out of reach. And the sad thing is that all of our students are very capable of a college education. The cost of it is outrageous, especially when some students don't know where their next meal will come from. The resources that do exist to make college more affordable scares our students and our families. The FAFSA requires a lot of personal information that people hesitate to share. A counselor has to convince a family to share social security numbers, tax returns, and personal information for the form, to complete the form, and that can be really scary. On top of this, students are coming and going. New enrollments never stop, and sometimes students don't have transcripts or student grades to make the transition easier. This can be difficult when building schedules and making a 4-year plan or a high school plan for the student. It's still their job to keep them on track, even with incomplete information. At the school level, counselors have to always keep policy at the top of their mind. They have to stay up to date with district policy and uphold it while taking into consideration each student's circumstances. So by now you can see how much a counselor has to juggle while fitting this in an 8-hour day. We know attendance is an issue and tracking down students takes additional time. Counselors need to be conscious about class time. Some of these students that they have to meet with have already missed a lot of class time. So finding ways to meet with students without having them miss valued education instruction can be a challenge. Counselors also need to facilitate classroom presentations while respecting teacher instruction time. Counselors make up a small percentage of our district employees. Consequently, in school professional developments, they are centered around teachers who make up the majority of our employees. Counselors have to use their own time to find and attend relative professional development surrounding numerous topics such as colleges, scholarships, the FAFSA. Many webinars are offered during school hours where counselors are trying to meet with students. For example, the FAFSA was completely revamped this year, and the counselors, they did watch recorded webinars throughout the workday, and they learned as they were helping the students with the FAFSA. So they were learning as they were going. On the individual level, counselors find out so much about their students. Their students are constantly on their mind, and some of their students' circumstances can really weigh on them because they build such a strong relationship with them. They really care about their students. Recently, our district had 3 tragedies that affected the whole community. The counselors were at the front line when dealing with student grief. They were debriefed in the morning and asked to be ready for the students to come in and to help them, support them with their grief. However, they themselves were grieving. These are students that they have had a relationship with for as many years as 2 of them were seniors, so for the last 4 years. But the counselors had to be there ready to support, even though they were grieving themselves. And they have to put their grief aside to be support for their students. Counselors have to be conscious of how they are perceived. They're not tied to their office. They are throughout the campus doing presentations, meetings, escorting organizations that are on campus, and doing testing. To limit students' time away from instruction, counselors will do quick check-ins. They'll go to the students' classroom and do a quick check-in with them, just so they don't have to call the student out. When counselors are away from their desk or away from their offices, parents and students will stop by looking for them. They have to justify where they are and what they were doing. And due to relationship building, counselors, they do become the default go-to, which is a good thing, but it does lead to more interruptions from students, families, and staff. And research shows that a person interrupted takes 50% longer to accomplish a task and makes up to 50% more errors. On top of all their roles, they are asked to drop what they're doing when needed. And too many apps running can drain the batteries. So those, with all the things that they do and those challenges, we just want to make sure that their battery is fully charged. So at this time, that's all I've got. If I could answer any questions, I'd be more than happy to.
Thank you. Is there any questions, Mr. Hawks?
Yeah. About how many people does each counselor have
Between
to
300
support
and 400
for each counselor?
for each counselor.
That's a lot of work on them.
Yeah.
Now, a question for a counselor. Let's say counselor. I mean, I've known individuals that just can't get along with another individual, and dealing with some of these children, especially the ones that have emotional problems. If they don't get along with the counselor, do they have an option?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Our administration is very flexible. Their door is always open, and we've had that happen, numerous times throughout the year. So families and students have the option of talking with an administrator about the request of, I'm not really seeing eye to eye with Mrs. Jimenez. What are my options? I've established a rapport with, some of our counselors are coaches, or they are leaders for organizations. So if they've built a rapport with another counselor, they can certainly request it. And our administration has always been very open to those types of changes, because that absolutely does happen.
Okay, thank you. The last thing is, I know that many schools around the nation, they have privileges that the students have a privilege to where the parent isn't notified in certain situations. Do we have any of those with our?
Any privileges?
Yeah, where confidentiality, where if the student asks the counselor to keep it just between them,
So
are they required to do that, especially when there's something serious going on?
Yeah, when there's something serious going on, a counselor has to contact the parent or the guardian that is listed in the school system in Power School. So a counselor does have to report, even if a student asks something, for something to be confidential. If it's in the best interest of the student for the parent guardian to know, that they contact them.
There's obviously legal
Thank you.
obligations.
Yes.
So,
And if there's ever something where they're kind of iffy about what to do, they can always go to administration also and ask, hey, where do I stand with this? What should I do? And
Well, I'd hate to be
they
in
always
their
provide
situation,
support.
because that's a lot on your shoulders.
Yeah.
Now, if they
And
start
absolutely.
having problems, do we have a system in place to where we can get them counseling?
Well, at Vista, I feel like I'm their counselor. So, but I don't, to be honest with you, there isn't a system in place for that.
Okay.
Other than a person seeking individual support outside of the district. But
We are focusing well-being for all of our community, our students and our staff. Also, staff has the availability through our insurance for 3 counseling visits
Sweet.
for free.
Good.
And so obviously focusing on the day-to-day well-being of our staff is very important, and understanding what they're needing. But for the more serious, that option's available as well.
Mr. Hayes? Mr. Hunt? No. Mrs. Harrington?
I just want to say you guys are doing a great job. I've personally, with my daughter being at Union, have had very good experiences. I know that when she had a scheduling conflict in the beginning of the year, it was handled right away by the counselor. And that was amazing. And then I've recently had one of the counselors reach out to me when I did those interviews, the community interviews, and he's been working with me. He wants to personally reach out to my daughter and just meet with her. And so they're very hands-on, and I appreciate everything they do.
thank you.
I do have a couple questions
Yes.
for you. As having a student at Union 2, what is you mentioned interactions with parents. Is it, I've never been called. I get the updates in the app, so I get some of that communication, but I'm just curious, is there, and I understand not every student is in the same particular
Yes.
situation.
Mhm.
And so I'm going to
You want some examples of how we would communicate with the
Well, I mean, fortunately for my son is driven and
on
he
track?
needs to make sure he's on track, because mom and I really want to make sure that happens and all that good stuff. And so he's a student. And so, but I'm wondering if that plays any part into the amount of interaction between the counselor and the students. If it's, AB students versus spending more of their time and resources on those students that need additional resources or what have you, which is fine with me. But that's how we looking at it? Or do you try
Yeah,
to
that's a good
allocate the
way.
same amount of time?
That is definitely a good way to look at it, because sometimes for those students that are AB students, the parent communication that goes out through, through our social media or through our parent square, that's enough, right? And then those parents usually have a good relationship with the student as far as like checking in. How are you doing with such and such grade? A lot of times there are, when grades go out or a parent attends parent-teacher conferences and sees that a student does need additional support, they'll reach out to the counselor and they'll say, I'm really concerned about my student's math grade. He was doing really well. And now, what can we do to support my student? So parents, they'll reach out to counselors regarding concerns with things like scheduling or the student's grade. They want to know about additional resources. And then, you do get those that come in to see the counselors regularly about, distractions from the learning environment. And with that, the counselors always keep communication with the parents just to let them know, hey, I've seen your student a few times. I'm not really sure, what's going on, but I do have to let you know that at this time, I think that maybe your student could use maybe like an outside resource as far as like long-term counseling goes, because counselors only provide short-term social emotional.
And what form does that take?
What form
Just
does, like,
Social,
how do you
emotional
determine what?
support?
So if let's say that a student is like, having a bad day today, and all of a sudden they're crying in class. Either the student will go see the counselor on their own, or a teacher will send an email and say, hey, Mia is struggling in class today. Do you have time to see her? And so the counselor will reach out and talk to the student and say, hey, is there anything that you want to talk to me about? They're not prying, but they want to let the student know that they're there for support. And they're always there if a student feels like they just need to check in and say, I'm good today, I'm not good today. But anything that's really like long term and, like a deeply rooted issue like that, they can refer the families to long-term counseling or whatever services they think. I mean, they're not doctors, so they don't really, they can't like really diagnose or anything, but they have enough experience and knowledge to know how to move forth with the student that might need more support than what they can provide.
Okay, thank you. I figured that, but I just wanted to confirm that. Is there any other questions? Mr. Lavender? Yeah.
No, I just want to thank the board. Last time we had a meeting, you approved a 6th counseling position at Vista Grande. So each of our large high schools next year will have 6 counselors as well as the 1 counselor at Pace. That was a critical need, and we appreciate it. Otherwise, they would have been about 400 to 1 ratio next year. And this gets it down to probably about 350 to 1, which is much too high. But it's the parameters in which we have to operate in. But all of our counselors do a wonderful job, and they're very proactive, and we're for them.
Okay.
And I wanted to let you know too that they have each other as a support system too. They're really good about debriefing with each other, because a lot of times, almost every day, it's not a planned day. For the most part, they have plans. However, things come up throughout the day, and sometimes it's something that's never happened before. So they'll talk with each other, and they'll say, "I'm not really sure. Like, I don't know. What should I do?" They bounce things off each other. So they do have each other as a support system. I failed to mention that earlier, and I was thinking I got to let them know that they do have each other for that. And I also wanted to recognize Ms. Khan, because Ms. Khan is a really strong support system within her department. She's actually the department leader for the counseling department at Vista, and she helped me prepare this presentation. So,
All right, thank you so much.
yes, thank you, thank you very much for allowing me to expand on the role of a counselor.
Well, we appreciate it. Thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
Mr. Lavender.
Yes, sir. So first of all, thank you to Mia and Lorena. I'm very proud of Lorena. As she said, I hired her 20 years ago. And tonight I'm going to go over the athletic handbook that Mr. Robbins and Mr. Ramirez helped us develop. And 20 years ago, Louis was a 6th or a 7th grader at Cactus Middle School. And so we're real proud of Louis for coming home this year after being the associate head coach at Saguaro High School that won the Open Division State Championship a couple of years ago. He came home this year. So in the up and coming meetings, and I'm going to start with the athletic handbook tonight, but in the interest of time, I may not get to the other, which is our commitment to excellence. When we talk about excellence, I think it's important that we start defining what inspiring excellence means. But I may or may not get to that based on that. And so, Mary, that's page 2. Am I correct? Where am I?
It is? Okay.
Okay, perfect. So anyhow, as I said, Mr. Ramirez and Mr. Robbins and I have been looking at our athletic handbook. In looking at our athletic programs, there are some improvements that need to be made to ensure that all of our students reach their maximum athletic as well as academic potential. We all know that sports is a very important part of school. We have all kinds of wonderful programs. We have band, we have arts, we have our CTE programs and all that. But we live in a world where a lot of times school spirit is built around the success and not success of our athletic programs, right or wrong. And our athletic programs are kind of the showcase of our communities, right or wrong, because a lot of times people come into our community, visit our schools because they're here for sporting events. Having been a high school student, that's high school won 2 state championships. I know this type of spirit that a state championship team can build. And I've watched it here twice, a few years ago when Vista Grande made the drive all the way to the state championship in their softball program, and how the community got behind that. The night when they won the semifinal game there at Vista Grande with their last at bats. I know Vance was very excited that night. It was just a wonderful evening for our community. They weren't successful in the title game, but they made it there. Then also a couple years ago in 2022 now, 21, excuse me, when Casa Grande Union won the state 4A state championship game and went to Sun Devil Stadium. But I want to emphasize, as we talk about these things, winning and losing is not the most important thing in our athletic programs. It's about how they represent our community, how they represent our school, and it's part of a bigger thing, which is to focus on academic success and sports success. So as you look at page 3, there's different things that I wanted to highlight as far as philosophy statements or changes, but I want to emphasize the participation in athletic events is a privilege involving responsibilities and rights. And so that's important that we get along, that we emphasize it is a privilege to play. It is not your right. And just because you may be a super athlete, if you're not going to adhere to the standards that we have for our athletes in the classroom as well as on the field or coaching wise, you're not gonna participate in our school district moving forward. This next slide really talks about our athletic philosophy statement. At the Casa Grande Union High School, we believe participation in school athletics is an important phase in the overall education process. Athletes is an integral component of the total education program, providing learning experiences that contribute to the students' physical, mental, social, and emotional growth. School athletes provide students with meaningful opportunities to learn important values such as accountability, self-discipline, leadership, citizenship, perseverance, responsibility, and teamwork through the realization of personal and team goals. While interscholastic athletic programs are generally decided to give opportunities to physically gifted students where winning is an important goal, we believe our athletic program should be expanded to include as many students as possible. A win-at-all-cost mentality is not part of our program. An example, I really highlighted this year when Coach Luna at Casa Grande Union benched 7 starters before a key game this year based on attendance that week at practices as well as some of these students' attitudes. If we had lost a game, we would not have qualified for the state playoffs, but Coach Luna saw the bigger picture, which is the self-discipline of these players. We expect student athletes to undertake the responsibilities of flying a positive school culture in a manner that their parents, teachers, and coaches can be proud of. As a result, their experiences in our athletic programs, we expect student athletes to become better individuals, as well-prepared contributing members of our community and society. So that really is, in a nutshell, is what we were trying to build our program around that philosophy statement. Moving forward to, just want to be very clear, our athletic programs is based on the biological gender at birth. Males participate, our females participate in, biological females participate in sports that are for females. Males participate in sports that are for males. They cannot participate in female sports. Females can participate in male sports like football and some of our other sports, wrestling, which there is not a female team. But males cannot participate in girls softball, girls basketball, and those things. One of the things that Louis brought to us this year is our Characters Matters curriculum, which is a weekly program in which our coaches talk to our players about the importance of character. They highlight different character themes each week. I know Vista does a really good job of posting kind of character athletes of the week. And so that's important as well. And some of the outcome valued from our character is a proven resource to educate both coach and athletes on the importance of character, unifies all athletic programs in a strategically developing character in your school athletes, establishes culture and character in our programs, and produces excellence and accountability. And we have new curriculum that's updated constantly. So that's our Character Matters curriculum that we brought in this year. We will continue to expand. The next page talks about to participate in our athletic programs, students must have a yearly physical. And a doctor must clear them. And with COVID, there is a new cardio component of the physical to ensure that none of our students have suffered any kind of cardio type issues during COVID and things like that. So if a student is going to play football, they must have a physical 1 year prior to with their physical is good for 1 year. So in football, if they get a physical in July, they're good for the whole football season. If their physical's in October, they have to get another one, or they'll have to start sitting out. So that is a yearly requirement as well. We all may remember a few years ago, I won't mention a high school in Chandler where hazing became a very critical problem there. We don't tolerate hazing. And in our athletic handbook, hazing is defined for our students and coaches, what it is, and how they can report hazing as well. Moving on is parent-student involvement. We want our parents to be involved in our athletic programs, and we encourage them, first of all, to get involved through the booster programs. Both of our high school programs have strong booster programs. A week ago, I participated in the Casa Grande Union Booster Golf Tournament. This weekend, I'm participating in the Vista Grande Booster Golf Tournament that's raising money for those students to attend football camp this summer in California. As well, they'll be doing a road game next September in Santa Maria, California, which is about an hour north of Los Angeles, about 25 miles north of Santa Barbara. So we're excited about our students making that trip. Academic qualifications. To participate in our sports, you must first be enrolled in the Casa Grande High School District. Open enrollment before your freshman year. If you're approved for open enrollment and you're living in Union's attendance zone, you can be approved before your freshman year to attend Vista. After you're established in the school, then some AIA guidelines come into effect on transfers. And so if you transfer after you've been established, then you could have to miss half a season. If the season has already started for that sport, then you'd have to sit out varsity level for the entire season. Students in our PACE program can participate in after-school athletics based on their based on the home school where they live. So if they live in the Vista attendance zone, PACE students can play at Vista. The Union attendance zone, they can play in Union. We also have some students in our community that are homeschooled and get their education through home. Not an online learning school. This is homeschooled. They can participate in our athletic programs in the attendance area which they live in. And so those are the conditions in which students can, or before students can be accepted from other communities on open enrollment, provided they go through our enrollment process for open enrollment. To be eligible, and I know Mr. Wilkie wants to have a conversation about this, but I would like to kind of have us when we're done and go over that. Currently, right now, to be eligible, students must be passing all of their classes. Our freshmen through juniors have to be taking 6 classes. Our seniors can take 4 classes, provided they're on track to graduate. And so they have to have a passing grade. Grades are checked each week. If they receive a pass, if all their grades are passing, they're good to go. If during the week they are not passing currently, they are placed on probation for a week, gives them the opportunity to get that grade up. If it's not up by the next week, then they have to sit out until their grade is up to a passing grade. And so that's our eligibility thing as well. One of the things we want to emphasize in this, because we've had some issues, is communication. We want students to focus on the first line of communication, and on the next page, there's kind of a chart there, is first, students should go directly to their coach. If the student can't resolve the issue with the coach, then we ask them to go to the athletic director. If the student can't resolve the issue, the athletic director, then we ask them to go to the principal And if they can't resolve it at the principal level, then it comes to the superintendent. Parents, students should not be jumping the chain of command and going directly to the principal, going to the superintendent. The first is to have a conversation with the coach. And we want to emphasize there are appropriate times to talk with coaches, and that's not right before a game, because a lot of times right before a game, our coaches are focused on game planning and getting ready. During the game or directly after the game. So what we've emphasized, and we'll be continuing to emphasize with our parents as well as our athletes, is make an appointment at an appropriate time to meet with the coach. But please do not approach coaches during the game, right before game, right after the game. The coaches are going to be instructed for you to make an appointment. A lot of times coaches have a lot to be doing at that time. And so we want to have conversations at the appropriate time. Our payment for participating in athletics currently this year, I think the first thing on there is, I'm sorry, I lost the page where I'm. Next year for event pricing. We are raising our prices next year for adults to attend games from $5 to $6. Senior citizens are $4. Students are $4. And then students under free. Also, you can buy an activity pass for the entire season to attend all of the games on that pass. And so those prices will be going into effect for next year. Also, one of the things we're looking at next year is the pay for play thing, in which currently right now we ask athletes to pay $50 per season. So if a young lady plays soccer, we ask for $50. If she plays softball, we ask for another $50. Next year, we're increasing that to $60 per athlete. And then for a family can pay up to, this year the family was for $200. Next year, we're asking for $240 to participate in athletics. Yes, Kelly?
So when does that get asked for? Because I don't think that we've ever been asked to pay for that, and my daughter's now participated in 2 sports. So I don't know where that comes from. Also, is there going to be consistency in charging it at games? Because I know, like for soccer this year, we didn't charge anybody for entering at Union.
Right.
But I know we went to other schools in other cities and they all charged per AIA. So I don't know if there's like a consistency thing or how that's going to work moving forward. It's just an observation. I mean, I don't want to pay, don't get me wrong, but if it's bringing income into our school from other teams, I mean.
And, Kelly, we don't want to charge either. But the reality is that the cost of running these programs is becoming more and more expensive. Uniforms, equipment, referees are becoming, and so we need to charge these fees to offset the increases. So I know this year at Vista, they charged, I think, for every game. And Louis, can you kind of tell Mrs. Harrington how you collect for the different sports?
Yeah, so it's, to be very transparent, it starts out of the administrator's office as the athletic director holding the students accountable for charging and collecting those fees. That pay to participate, so for example, I have 2 budgets in the bookstore. One is my athletics budget, one is our pay to participate budget. And so that pay to participate fee is where I put in money to pay our extra duty workers, pay the AIA, which is roughly $10,000 a year, pay officials, which is an account that I think this year so far I put $25,000 in to pay officials multiple times. So that's the money that we use to offset those costs, like Mr. Lavender was talking about. My administrative secretary does a great job on getting with coaches, making sure they're held accountable, and making sure that there's been a number of cases where a student doesn't pay that fee after they have like a couple of week grace periods. If the season of sports starts, then that student athlete is no longer eligible.
So how do they bill that? Because I'm just saying, I've never been approached saying, hey, you owe this. Is it online? Is it an email? Is it something that the coach physically gives the child? Like,
It's through the bookstore. So it starts in the bookstore.
You might
Okay.
want to check your bookstore.
Look,
so
yeah. Do I have a bookstore account? I mean,
Look,
like,
I know Dr. Lineberry's sitting back there, so I know he's
so
laying down.
sorry. Like,
Miss Harrington
I
owes us.
probably owe like hundreds of dollars and I don't even know it, but it's, so-
Mr. Wilkie?
Just a real quick comment on that. Scholarships.
Yes, so we do, there's been a number of instances as well, so the students on McKinney-Vento, extreme circumstances, we will waive a fee. We do have a scholarship fund as well for those student
Good.
athletes that can't afford. It's, again, case-by-case scenario for our students in our community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And so we do provide transportation to our games. Sometimes students have to leave early to attend games because a lot of our games are in the Phoenix area, Tucson area. We've had teams travel as far as Lake Havasu. This softball season, students are expected to miss the work when they are out. It is an excused absence. Again, athletic behavior. We expect our students to be good citizens and good representatives of the school, as well as our parents. And I highlighted, we expect parents to join the staff in setting good examples. We respectfully ask our parents and guardians to join in overall efforts to make student sport participation a happy and healthy experience. There have been some issues this year that we've had to address with parents. We've actually have 2 or 3 parents that are banned from attending games because of their behavior. One student jumped the fence and entered a field in a football game and got into it with a referee. We're not going to tolerate that kind of behavior. But this is a trend nationally, and with behavior and things like that. There was a basketball game at Higley. I don't want to mention the school's name, where they stopped the game and removed the other team's entire fans out of the gym and continued the game with only the Higley fans because the fans of the other team were so rude and disrespectful. I was at a game this year at Campo Verde, and the Campo Verde fans were warned that if they didn't start behaving, they were going to remove them from the gym. We haven't gotten that far yet, but we want to hold our parents to an expectation as well. So there, and what we plan to do is we plan to have meetings at the beginning of the season with the athletes, with the parents, with staff. We plan to use Anthony Edwards, who used to be director of player development for the Cardinals, and talk to parents about the importance of supporting the school athletic programs and things like that, and also speak to the students. So that's one of the, Anthony has agreed to do that as well. Coaches' expectations. Again, coaches are teachers, and we expect them to teach the game and behave in an appropriate manner, no different than our teachers in the classrooms, which I'll get to in the thing. Team selections, again, need to be fair. It needs to be posted so all the players know what the team criteria is, and we want to keep as many players as we can, but sometimes it's just not possible to keep 30 guys on a basketball team, on a varsity team. So within reasonable numbers in that. Social media, we want our players to be appropriate on social media. We had some issues this year with players taunting each other through social media, using inappropriate language and appropriate racial terms. Social media is an extension of the team, an extension of the school, as well as parents making comments about coaches and players on social media. So we'll be emphasizing that as well. We live in Arizona, and so obviously heat-related injuries is something we emphasize with our athletes as well. And so the next page, which is on page 12, we really talk about our core values. And again, we see the athletic fields as an extension of the classroom and educational program. They're designed to enhance the sparks of students. I've talked to you before about the importance of student sparks. Students will enhance their goal setting, and students will practice attributes to achieve their personal dreams. Again, we know the vast majority of our students will never play college sports, and it's very unlikely that maybe 1 or 2 of our athletes will ever play professional sports. We want students to, number one, get the education and learn this, but we also want and learn skills, but we want students to be lifelong players of these sports, whether it's basketball and a love of the sports. And probably one of the hardest things, and I know that Mr. Ramirez and Mr. Ramos, is when we hear from students that they don't love the sport anymore based on things. The next are non-negotiables. And these are important statements that I think that are important for our students. They're law-abiding citizens. I know there's been some concerns with that and things, but now we've got it in writing that they're expected to follow the law. They will not use inappropriate, they will use appropriate language and not use derogatory racial terms. This has been an issue that we've dealt with in our teams this year, is appropriate language and racial terms. Academic success is our highest priority in education, and they will give 100% success to the classroom, and they will retain respectful relationships with their support team. And finally, they will be we acknowledge that drugs and alcohol are dangerous and can steal my hopes and dreams. I will be drug, tobacco, vape, and alcohol free, which I'll talk about there. And our coach is really talking about strengths-based versus a growth mindset and strength-based. Some of their coaches' non-negotiables are they will be a role model, will always conduct themselves myself in that manner. Building strong culture and player safety will be their highest priorities, not winning. I will maintain proper coach relationships with the athletes. I will use appropriate language while coaching. And I know that a lot of times it's a challenge for football because sometimes football coaches, language is something like that, but really emphasizing that. And our coaches normally do a pretty good job with that. Number 5, and I think we really emphasize this, I will address concerns with referees in the same manner I will and tone as I would with my supervisor. There's many times that I have seen coaches over the years, not just here as superintendent, where I would never allow a teacher to speak to me in that manner. They're not going to speak to referees in that manner. I've been watching sports, and Boots and I recently had a conversation. You're a sports guy, aren't you? I said, yep. I've been watching sports my whole life, and I've yet to see a referee admit they were wrong yet and change a call. Sometimes we have video evidence and it gets changed, but most of the time we're wasting our time yelling at refs about the calls that they make. I will hold my athletes to high expectation standards. Make an excuse for my athletes will not benefit them and will prevent them from achieving their goals. I will coach using a growth mindset and a strengths-based model, and I'll keep in mind a community feel and play music that is suitable for all guests. And we're going to call, and Mr. Wilkie's happy to see that. But sometimes when you go into the gym or when you go up and listen to the walk-up songs, these are songs that are not appropriate. And so we want music that is enjoyable by all there. And so that's one. And then the parent guardians, I understand that coaches, administrator are operating in my child's best interest. As a fan for guests for athletic events, I will root for my child and their team and not against the opponent. I will never enter the playing surface during a game. I will use appropriate language while being a spectator at school on school campus. I will use respectful language towards officials on school campuses. I will practice positive reinforcement cheering during the games and keep critical comments, thoughts about players, coaching, officials, calls to myself. I will make appointments with the coach to address my concern. Coaches have many duties to perform. I've already talked about that. I understand that athletics is a privilege, not a right for my child to participate. And then I've read the student and athlete's handbook. The last thing that we are introducing this year is drug testing, and we're asking for approval for drug testing. And so on page 15, it says the governing board believes that the use of illegal drugs presents an especially hazardous threat to the health, safety, and welfare of the students who participate. And there are many different types of drugs in which we can test for. And so what we're looking to do is do random drug testing. And so each student would be assigned a number, not by name. And we would set up a few times during the season for the people we'll be contracting with to come in and do random. And there will be 2 students present, as well as the athletic director. Am I correct, Louis? And the nurse will be present while we select our random drawing of the students' names are done.
You want to run down real quick? It'd be a total of 6 testing dates, 2 in the fall, 2 in the winter, 2 in the spring, and 7 students each time. So 14 in the fall, 14 in the winter, and then 14 in the spring. And that's for each individual site.
So it's site, not sport.
Correct.
Yeah. So each setup is $75 per campus or $150. And testing is $30 to $40 per test, depending on how many drugs we're testing for. It's $30 if you're not testing for THC, which is the marijuana ingredient. I think it's $40 if you are testing for THC, which is the marijuana ingredient. As we know that marijuana is now legal. And so do we want to test? But we would be testing for cocaine, heroin, different type of opiates, as well as steroids, because we know that steroids is something. So again, we will be bringing this back to you in May for your approval. But the drug testing is something that we think is important. Send a message to our athletes that the drugs and athletes do not mix. And so for consequences, again, a positive drug test would be a 45-day removal from the team. However, if the child agrees to counseling, we would reduce it to 15 days removal. That's on the first positive test.
With a negative, you test again for a negative
Yeah,
result.
I think it test again within 15 days, and then negative, then the child can return. The second positive test, the child is off the team. And then the third negative test, the child would be out of our thing for, I think we said a year.
Does this include alcohol too, or just drugs?
Yes, that was a good question.
Because I didn't see that on the specification, and I
You
know
know, I'd
that
have
that
to-
is also an issue.
I'd have to go back to the papers. Louis, do you remember if it's tested for alcohol?
I do not believe so, but there is a chart that once that's part of the, the quote per se that we bring back to you.
Because I think that is still an important factor that we should consider.
That's on the list of what'll be tested for.
It is
or
on there?
it not?
Okay, I overlooked it then.
You know,
Thank you.
remember, we'll probably be catching these kids pretty early in the morning on a school day, hopefully.
They're not-
Alcohol, drugs stay in your system. A lot of, like marijuana, stays in your system for 30 days. Alcohol processes out pretty quickly, depending on the amount. So normally with alcohol, you can see some signs there. But if we need to, we can certainly look at that as well. Mr. Hunt?
Yeah, two questions. Comment on the cannabis issue, since it's the most easily gotten product. I'm in full favor of doing the cannabis. And at the same time, if a student doesn't pass it and they have to take another test, that should be on the student to come up with the money, not the school district at all.
And so at that time, Mr. Hunt, it's finding certified places for them to do it. A lot of times it requires them to go to the hospital and pay for the testing at the hospital. And so, again, we wouldn't bring them in specifically to do that. So they're going to have to go. And we've had students before that have been accused of possibly being under the influence, and they go to a doctor or the hospital to get drug tests. And that would be the same type of situation.
Yeah.
Just for the sake of time here, I'll maybe wrap up. It's going to be brought back to us. So if we have any questions, we can get with you offline.
Right.
Just-
And you certainly,
tune in.
between now, but I'd like to bring it back to you on May 13th for your approval, so we can get the ball rolling. Then obviously on May 13th, I'm going to ask if we can do the study session that night for me to go over our commitment to excellence document with you all.
Yeah.
Did you want to talk about the eligibility, sir?
Well, real quick here, eligibility as defined as passing, in my humble opinion, if it's not a C, it's not passing. Technically, it is passing, but this is sports, and this is. I played sports. It really helped, make me into the person I am today. And as a coach, I emphasized it heavily. If you weren't getting at least C's, then you're doing tutoring. And I had tutoring players. C's are achievable. And so I would say at the minimum thing, we should have at least C's out of our athletes. B's and A's, but at least C's. And I think that there's enough resources out there. Professor Google, or if they don't have it at home, there's resources on campus. And if we don't have those resources at campus for this, maybe the teams can work within themselves to help get them to the C, because it's about the future. And I don't see any athletes shouldn't be able to get C's even so.
If I could speak on that, Just real quick, I think our coaches do a really good job of holding that as a team policy, not necessarily a district policy. This is the guideline, but I'm really proud of our coaches. And anybody that is below a C, that's obviously in that D area, that fringe area, they're mandatory too.
So it shouldn't be an issue then to the ultimate. So we can bring this back for further conversation, I guess, at the next time. But that would be my recommendation, and we're not voting on it tonight, is let's raise the bar a little bit for these students, which it sounds like they're already working towards it anyway. So it's just something to give them a little bit more. You want to play, you need to put that a little bit more effort. And
Mr. Danziger and Dr. Lineberry, do either of you want to share your thoughts on the eligibility policy going to grades of C or higher?
Probably wouldn't like my sharing. I had to have a B to play in high school.
I would agree with that.
B would be good.
I would agree. Absolutely.
Well, when I was in high school, we had to have an A.
I wouldn't mind that either.
Who's going to top
Let's
that?
be real.
I will say, I am certainly not opposed to the C. I think it's about the process of bringing our students up to that level and raising the level of expectation. All of our kids are capable, and we need to hold them to their potential.
Jeff, I would like to come to that issue that you were just talking about, and that's the issue of excellency. If we don't hold our students to the highest degree, as I've said, if we reach for the stars, we never get a handful of mud. The problem is that if we start out with a C, we're going to get a handful of mud in the end.
Okay.
Just
So-
a point of reference.
Yes, sir. So everything else I talked about tonight, board's good with. You're liking everything else that Mr. Ramirez, Mr. Robbins, and I are presenting, other than,
I have a few more
Absolutely.
questions, but I'll submit them to you. And then
Okay.
we can get it out to the board.
so, and then we're looking at changing it to grades of C or higher. So I will, in defense of Arizona State University and the lousy basketball program that we've had, emphasize our higher academic standards are not working when we look down south to that school down south and their academic standards and their academic in their basketball program, because they don't hold their students to C's or higher. I'm being funny.
I know you are.
Okay, I had one
Yes,
more
Mr.
question, if
Hawks.
it'd be
Yes, sir.
okay.
Boots. Mr. Hawks.
When you said after the third test or after the second test, they're off the team, is there any way that they can come back to any team after that?
After the second test,
Right.
they would be eligible for the next sport.
Okay.
Remember, we have 3 different seasons.
Okay.
So if they test positive during the beginning of football season, test positive again, they're out for football. They would be eligible for basketball, but if they test positive again for basketball, then they're going to be out for a year.
And we can revisit that later too.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Looks like some of these things, and again, through weekly communication and things like that, and talk to Mr. Wilkie if there are other ideas that I'll ask you as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lavender.
Well, again, I want to thank Louis, Randy for their help in this. I think us working together, we're going to raise the behavior and the conduct of our program, and we're going to have programs that our community can be very proud of, not only when they win, but also when they represent us throughout the state. And that's our goal. And Mr. Wilkie, next year when he attends basketball game, will be able to enjoy the music as well.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Lavender. And want
All
to
right.
thank everybody who helped hold this together. This is very important. So thank you very much for all the hard work. Unless we had any other comments, then we'll stand adjourned and study session, and we'll start the regular session in 1 minute. Thank you.
All right.
There's just a few more things. So, and it really gets back to how many times someone
How you doing?
positive like the last few weeks. They're all go back to the sport. Next sport, it's like, man, they're here. Hello, sir. No, and I see the result. Good evening, everybody. Nice to meet you. Okay. Thank you very much. And have you seen the agenda? It's towards the end of, okay, wonderful. Thank you, gentlemen.
How are you doing?
Maybe to that point,
There's a little-
during a sport, if they're gonna go into another sport, it's scary.
On the other side over there.
Prior to starting something.
It's like we're talking about raising.
Because
the
otherwise,
bar.
it's just gonna be right. What are the chances that they get pulled in?
Yeah, and, yeah, it's almost like you get a flag on yourself, right? Actually. And, you know, if you say you're test positive twice, you miss that one season, but by the time you hit all the season's almost done.
That's fun.
you go to the next one.
I know that is kind of strange, that we would let them do that.
Yeah, so that's what.
See ya.
Thank you,
thank
you.
Are you out of here?
Hey, take care. Good job out
How are
there.
you? Good.
Have a good day.
Good to see you. Yep.
I would absolutely love it. Like, that's what I said. I said, what is eligibility? It's a C? No, I said, it should be at least a C. It should be B, it should be A. You know, I agree. Absolutely.
Very minimum, because barely passing, not good enough. We should expect more out of the people that athletes than we do our normal students.
I understand where you're coming from with that, and again, it's and so the challenge is that you're dealing with students at this point. You need to raise that bar.
Did I leave my glasses on
I
the?
like that counseling program that they have.
They do good work, Boots.
A hard job.
But we need, that's what I said, those mentors.
Don't have me walk through that thing.
Casey's here, right? Cassie. Casey. Well, I'm going to talk about how polite she is.
Your hair back here.
So.
Two things. Number one.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for attending tonight's meeting. We will start off. Thank you. So, bring up the agenda here. Okay, so we're going to start off with a roll call, please. Mary?
The little exit she was talking about.
Here?
To go out of that.
Here.
Here.
Mrs. Harrington.
Here.
And Mr. Hawk.
Here.
All right. Move to the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Hayes, if you wouldn't mind leading us in that, and then please remain standing for a moment of contemplation and self-reflection.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. Moving to the adoption of the agenda, do I have a motion?
So
I'll make-
moved.
Second.
A second. Mary, call the roll, please. A vote.
Mr. Hayes.
Yes.
Yes.
Mrs. Harrington.
Yes.
Mr. Hawk.
Yes.
Mr. Wilkie.
Yes. Minutes from prior meetings. Any questions about any of the minutes? If not, I will accept a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of the last meeting.
A second.
And, okay. Any discussion? Mary, please call for a vote.
Mr. Hayes.
Yes.
Mr. Hunt.
Yes.
Mrs. Harrington.
Yes.
Mr. Hawk.
Yes.
Mr. Wilkie.
Yes, and now we need to have a motion for the March 25th special meeting to accept those minutes. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion to accept the special meeting, March 25th minutes.
Second.
Call for the vote, please.
Mr. Hayes.
Yes.
Mr. Hunt.
Yes.
Mrs. Harrington.
Yes.
Mr. Hawk.
Yes.
Yes. All right. Mr. Lavender, student recognitions.
Yes, sir. Well, good evening, President Wilkie, governing board members. This is our favorite time of the month when we recognize the extraordinary students that we have at all three of our schools. Our Rotary Student of the Month for the month of April for Custer Grand Union, Avery Weddle, has a tennis match tonight, so he was not able to attend. So Avery will be coming to our May board meeting. So at this time, I'm going to ask Mr. Vance Danzy, our principal at Vista Grande High School, to come up and introduce and recognize the Vista Grande April Student of the Month for Rotary. Good evening, Mr. Danzy.
Good evening. Good evening, Governing Board President Wilkie, Governing Board members, and Superintendent Mr. Lavender. Can I please have Angelina Pablo come up? Lost you. Hold on a second. Thank you. I was thinking my computer. Sorry. Angelina Pablo is the daughter of Celesta, Eugenia, Antonio, and Augusta Pablo. She is Vista Grande's April Rotary Student of the Month. Angelina is a wonderful student and overall great human here at Vista Grande, and we are extremely grateful to have a student like her on campus. Angelina has maintained above average grades throughout her 4 years at VGHS, while also pushing to be involved on campus through soccer. Angelina is currently spending her free time learning to manage her own business, reading, and singing. After graduation, Angelina aspires to become a photographer while also earning her real estate license. Each member of the Vista Grande High School staff who have had the honor of working with Angelina has said nothing but great things about her character and drive. We are proud to have her as our April Rotary Student of the Month. Shake the hand.
Congratulations.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
All right.
So I guess we know what bookends look like now. We're proud tonight to have our first PACE Student of the Month, and Mrs. Crystal Danzy. I would ask her to come forward.
Good evening, everyone. I am super excited to have our first ever PACE Student of the Month presented at the board. So Brett, come on up and join us. So Brett Hillier is our very first PACE Student of the Month, and he is a very remarkable student. He has come such a long way this year, and when I thought of who I wanted to nominate, he was top of the list. I want to share some words from some of the staff about their experiences with Brett. Brett Hillier is a remarkable young individual with a promising future. His exceptional A+ winning attitude shines through in his dedication to areas where he excels, such as esports, group workouts in health and wellness, and the classroom activities and projects in science and health and wellness. His supportive nature and ability to assist his peers and mentors are truly admirable. Without a doubt, he deserves recognition for his hard work in academics and his outstanding character in all aspects of life. Ms. Haskins. I wanted to share how impressed I am with Brett's growth as a leader. Since becoming captain of the esports team, he has really stepped up and shown great integrity, leadership, sportsmanship, and moral virtue. I'll never forget the recent game where the opposing team was being really unsportsmanlike and using inappropriate language. Brett handled the situation with such confidence and grace. He calmly told the other team that their behavior was not okay and that he and his teammates didn't want to hear that kind of language. He made it clear that if they didn't stop, the game would be over. I think it's really important to acknowledge when someone does something great, and Brett definitely deserves recognition for the way he handled that tough situation. It's clear that he's a natural leader, and I'm excited to see him continue to grow in this role. Congratulations, Brett.
Good job. Very impressed. Congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations.
Next, I'd like to introduce our CTE Director, Mrs. Lisa Miller, who will recognize our CTE Students of the Month. Mrs. Miller, welcome. Mrs. Miller is from Indiana, so she does have one ear to the radio, rooting for Purdue tonight. So
Begrudgingly, just in case my brother happens to be listening, it's begrudgingly.
okay.
I grew up in a house divided, IU Purdue. Anyway, I'm here to recognize students from our automotive program and a student from our bioscience program, both of which are at Union High School. So I'm going to start with the automotive program. We're honoring Taylor Curtis this evening. And I'm going to improv a little bit here. So I met Taylor a little over a year ago, and she was not quite sure what she was going to do at a skills event, a competition event, but she certainly had a passion for the automotive technology industry, and she had a very well-laid career plan already last year. So she's continued with that, and her passion is unending, I am sure. So she is the daughter of Dustin and Debbie Curtis here in Casa Grande, and she was nominated by her teacher, Christian Stewart. These are his words. Taylor Curtis is a second-year automotive student. From the start, she has shown a great interest in the automotive diesel industries. Taylor is an asset to the program. She is always willing to go above and beyond when asked to help. She has competed for 2 years in a row in Skills USA state competition. Taylor has also taken advantage of the National Institute for Automotive Service Excellence, the ASE, in industry certification. This is a test for certifying automotive professionals. Taylor also plans to continue her studies in the automotive diesel field by attending UTI after graduation. Taylor has been a fantastic student, both academically and in the auto shop, and this is why I nominate her for April Student of the Month. Congratulations.
Okay.
Congratulations. Our automotive teacher, Mr. Stewart, is came tonight to also recognize her.
Your parents? No, okay.
All right, and in bioscience, we're honoring Simon Pelfrey tonight. So come on up, Simon. And he's here tonight with his mother, Michelle Wilcox, and his sister's here as well. And I forgot your sister's name? Kelly. Okay. So I met Simon last year because he wanted to run for state office in HOSA. And so he came to talk to me because I'm the one who signs off on the permission for that. And we went through a whole process to get that application taken care of and turned in on time. And he was a state officer for the whole year this year.
All right.
So these are the words. These words are from his teacher, Mr. Donald Thompson. Mr. Simon Pelfrey is being nominated for Student of the Month because of his accomplishments in the Healthcare Occupation Students of America, HOSA, organization. He has worked tirelessly as a state officer to ensure that the CGUHSD club members prepare for the state competition event. Simon has demonstrated an abundance of leadership skills in his positions as State Arizona HOSA VP, National Honor Society VP, Student Body Secretary, Junior Class Secretary, Key Club Vice President, Link Crew Vice President and Commissioner, and the STEM Chief Science Officer. He is currently logged between 150 and 200 volunteer hours in a variety of areas. Congratulations to you, Simon. Thank you.
Also, Simon was a National Merit finalist this year.
Wow.
Simon, if your family can join us. A few things.
It's impressive.
Excellent.
Yes, sir. For employee recognitions, I'm going to ask Casey DeBold to please join me up here. Casey works in our procurement office, and for those that have had experience trying to spend our government's money, you know there is a lot of red tape to get through. And Casey is an expert on how to navigate in this. And so this is written up on, a lot of this was taken when she was given a Coming Out from Behind the Counter award recently. Casey has done an outstanding job in procurement and has proven to be an asset in business services department. Her attention to detail has caught some errors in which not only saved the district money, but also helped keep the district in compliance with state guidelines. She has also been diligent in assisting staff with their travel arrangements to attend conferences by communicating information such as flight and hotel confirmations, what meals qualify for reimbursement, and the rates. She's always willing to take on new tasks that are asked of her and makes decisions based on how they will be beneficial to the district and keeping compliance. And one of the things I really appreciate about Casey is she's not afraid to come to me and say, hey, you need to pay attention to this. We may not be able to do it this way. And that's critical in our district, is that we have somebody that's well-versed in this, that keeps myself as well as all of you out of financial problems and in audits and things like that. She's also very polite. For 6 months, I called her Casey, and she never once corrected me because my brain's assigned the name Casey. Cassie, that's it. See, I finally did it right. But she's doing a great job for us. So Casey, I'll present to you this Employee of the Month, and thank you for all that you're doing. Mrs. Rodriguez, Ms. Salazar, do you want to join us up here for the picture, please? I know you don't, but.
Congratulations. Thank you.
She's getting in there. That's not her first rodeo. I've seen her pictures. She's very photogenic.
Next, I'm going to ask our head football coach from Casa Grande Union, Mr. Mark Luna, to please join me up here, as well as our Arizona teacher of the year, our coach of the year, strength coach of the year. when I attended McClintock High School, our strength coach, I don't even know if he could have spelt weights, let alone was ever in the weight room. But as you can see, Mr. Woodard is not only the strength coach of the year, he also spends a lot of time in the weight room. And he's doing a fantastic job for us. And this came from the National High School Strength Coaches Association. But I'm going to ask our football coach, Mr. Lunan, to talk about what an asset Mr. Woodard is to our school and his program.
Definitely. Thank you, sir. Good evening to everyone, board members. First off, I just want to thank Mr. Lavender for allowing me to come up here and speak on behalf of Coach Woodard. When I hired in 2 years ago as the new head coach, the first thing I did in my interview was ask if we could hire a strength and conditioning coach, because I had I call him my Brody, but my guy right here next to me that I needed to bring on board with me. Coach Wood, we call him Coach Wood. Coach Wood has had lots of stops at the NCAA levels, Waldorf University, Purdue University, the University of Arizona, where he was a grad assistant, was also an assistant strength and conditioning coach. So we knew how valuable he was to our program when he came in 4 years ago. He was a key contributor to our kids that won the state title 2 years ago in the 2022 season. And he was also a key contributor to helping Mr. Angel Flores and his production in the weight room with his speed and on his way to NAU a couple years back. You know, he's been a significant role model with not only the football team, but all the athletics there at the school, girls cheerleading, girls softball, baseball, basketball. I mean, he runs not only classes throughout the day, but then he also has the weight room open in the evening for all the kids that come in and get their workouts in. So, you know, it was a no-brainer when I asked if I could bring him in, because without him, you know, we wouldn't have been able to go to the playoffs 4 out of the last 5 years in football, go to the playoffs in baseball last year, go to the playoffs in basketball this past year. So, you know, he's been a contributor to our programs, and, you know, I just want to thank him. So I appreciate you again allowing me to speak up on his behalf. Thank you. I didn't present the award. Sorry. I didn't present the award. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no,
Congratulations.
Yeah.
We'll have to do a compare and contrast for our students tomorrow with our student of the month from Vista, as well as this picture.
Well, congratulations to everybody. Well done, and best of luck in the future. At this time, we'll take a quick pause to allow those people that have become here for the recognition to, if you want to leave, you're more than welcome to leave and get back to your families and all that. You're welcome to stay too, but we'll give you a pause if you would like to. Thank you.
Hey, Coach.
I was going to also say, have you ever thought about doing the speaking at the beginning so that we have some people left in here? Myself? No chance. I understand. I know.
Anybody else? Okay, we can continue here. Mr. Lavender.
Yes, sir. I am going to flip-flop A and B. That way Mr. Sands can go just there with the superintendent report. I wanted to start with a congratulations to our Tech Skills USA team from Casa Grande Union, who won the state championship. The team consists of Max Wagner, Cooper Dale, Asante Santilli, Alex Romero, and their sponsor, Mike Wagner. They have qualified for the national championships, June 23rd and 29th in Atlanta, Georgia. Congratulations to our Vista Junior ROCC team that competed in the arm inspection this weekend and got 3rd place out of 32 teams. earlier tonight in the study session. Mia Khan was here, and she was recently recognized as the Southwest District Key Club Outstanding Advisor. And then a couple weeks ago, I had the privilege of attending Dancing for the Stars. Is Jennifer here? There she is. I sent you all some different dances, and Jennifer that night did a fantastic job and was selected for the Showstopper Award. And Jennifer, how many thousands of dollars did you raise? Over $13,000. I want to be clear, I did not ask Mike Cruz to come here tonight and Magic Mike to perform his dance, but he also won the overall prize, winning $32,000. I want to commend all of our staff for successful state testing. I know we still have some makeup tests to do, but they were able to develop a schedule that was very test beneficial, or the optimum testing conditions, as our 11th graders took the ACT test as well as the state science test. Our 9th graders took the ACT Aspire test. Tina Daniels is sitting at the podium tonight in place of Mrs. Beecham. I asked her to sit there for the study session. When we got to the commitment to excellence thing, we weren't able to, but I also want to commend Tina, and I saw Rebecca Spollinger back there, and all of our ESS team for all their hard work in getting us out of corrective action with the Department of Education. Just a couple other things. This Friday night at 6 o'clock at the Neon Sign Park, about 40 of our students from Union and Vista will be receiving their Cesar Chavez scholarships from the Cesar Chavez Committee. And I guess on Friday is going to be a day that a lot of people who have attended Casa Grande Union is going to remember from all the days when they used to run across the street to Little Sombreros to eat lunch. It's my understanding Little Sombreros may be closing their business doors on Friday. And so sorry to see, that institution has been in our community for a long time, closing the doors. But we are heading into some exciting season, which is the prom season. Mary, do you have the picture?
I do.
All of you, Kelly, have you had this in your yard yet? Is the prom potty that some juvenile delinquents from Casa Grande Union placed in my yard one Saturday night, and I had to pay $120 to get it out of my yard. $25 to send it to Mike Cruz, $100 that it could never come back. And then several community members have gotten this toilet in their front yard. My understanding is somebody even stole it last week and they had to go recover it. Is that correct, Dr. Lineberry?
I'm not sure about that. And I just wanted to be known that I had nothing to do, sir.
Yes, sir.
Your house is the first stop on the tour.
Yes, sir. But if any of you would like to pay $25 to make sure that we don't put it in your yard, let Dr. Lineberry know that he's collecting $25.
I have cactus.
So, but proms are going to be the weekend of April 20th for both campuses at April 20th. So we're excited about.
It's next Saturday, right? For Union?
Thought it was April the 13th?
Yes.
Yeah, it's this Saturday.
Yeah.
So 13th.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
So we moved it up.
My son's going.
You have that confused look. Are you sure?
It is the 13th. I do know that.
My
Okay,
son's
so
planning on it, so I'm hoping.
Are you attending, Mr. Wilkie?
I won't, but my son will be, so.
Okay. And then Union Vista, you are the 20th, correct?
Correct.
All right. So Vistas will be, and it's a great opportunity for all you to go out and watch prom. It's an enjoyable experience. And then graduations will be Tuesday, May 21st at Casa Grande Union High School, and Thursday, May 23rd at Vista Grande High School. Going to the next is our weapon detection system. John Sands is here tonight, and I'm drawing a blank right now. John, what company? GXC. Before I turn it over to John, just a couple informational items. As you know, in the last 15 months, we've had 3 weapons on our campuses. And so it continues to remain a concern. Last year, we did survey our community. In May, 919 parents responded. 83% strongly agreed that we should have metal detectors or weapon detection. 8% agreed. 3% were neutral, 3% disagreed, and 4% strongly disagreed. Staff was about 62% in favor of having some kind of security, whether it be a weapon detection system or metal detector, and 22% were opposed. As you can imagine, students were not the enthusiastic group on this. 23% were in favor and 60% were opposed in that. But overwhelming support from our parents, our stakeholders. And so recently, Mr. Danzy, Mr. Ramirez, and I went down and observed the operation at Desert Sunrise High School in Maricopa, looked at their detection systems. I got in contact with Mr. Sands. He did a presentation recently for Mr. Wilkie and Mr. Hunt, and he's here tonight to do a demonstration. And then if the board desires, we will go into matters reserved for action. Item A is the weapon detection system. We have a quote from Mr. Sands for $187,000 to purchase not lease 9 units. If you remember back, the systems we were looking at before to rent for 4 years was $532,000. So John, thank you for coming up tonight. I know you came up from Sierra Vista, so you had a long drive as well. So John, it's all yours, sir.
Bear with me for about a minute while I set these up. But that's the beauty of the open gate system. It doesn't take too long to set up. These have the batteries already in them, and I brought the base plates because we quoted base plates. And, typically, we'll just set these up every morning, and you kind of eyeball what 32, 33 inches apart would be, and that's how I'm going to eyeball it. And we just turn them on, and within 1 minute, they will sync. This is a married pair. And again, governing board, thank you for having me present the open gate to the audience. 75% of me says, I really don't want to be here tonight because of the state of what's happened with weapons coming on campus. 25% of me says, I'm honored to be here tonight to help to present a solution for these types of problems. So, these are about to set. So that's how long it takes from the time you set them down until they're ready to start detecting. So can I get the podium here?
Absolutely, sir.
So a little bit about the open gate system. It's made by CGUHSD. And CGUHSD, if you can see the logo at the bottom of the bases, CGUHSD is a company out of Italy. And embarrassingly, I wish I could say it was an American company, but the Italians have the best technology on earth. The company's been in business more than 60 years. They have 70% market share across the globe on metal detection. They have competitors that are trying to outmarket them. I happen to work for CGUHSD's largest US distributor called GXC. We're a Long Island-based company. I'm vice president of sales and marketing, but I happen to operate out of my home in Tubac, kind of down near Sierra Vista. So it wasn't a very long drive to come up here. CGUHSD has, we like to say, protects from the Pope to the president. They're at the White House. They protect President Biden. They protected presidents all the way back to 1988. In 2021, CGUHSD came up with the open gate system. It was the game changer. This replaced the old style weapons detectors that you're most commonly have seen at airports and at jails and things like that. They have different degrees of metal detectors, but all of those had crossbars going over the top. So when our company talks to school boards like yourselves about metal detectors, they're usually surprised that here comes a metal detector that doesn't have that crossbar. And we were in Houston recently, and the principal at a particular high school said, wow, we don't want these things to look like the students are entering a prison. And this is before they saw them. They said, they're not going to look like that. So we arrived at Houston, and they were pleasantly surprised to see 2 poles. The reason I've got the sleeves over the poles is that there's an option with the open gate. This is going to go off, but you can have custom sleeves made. And the reason I bring that up is
we've heard from our clients across the country that having the school colors on the sleeves with the school logo and the school mascot kind of lessens the blow of the enormity. I'm about to go through a metal detector. It's more inviting. When we come in and train, once a purchase is made, we come in and train for 2 consecutive days. And part of our training is the interaction between the students and the personnel manning the system. So we have sold in our company to Arizona, about 5 districts so far. We have we've really just begun. We started about a year ago in the state of Arizona. Open Gates are in more than 500 districts across the United States and growing. If you've been to a Arizona Diamondbacks game, you've walked through that Open Gate. If you've been to Sun Devil Stadium or Desert Financial Arena, you've walked through the Open Gate. If you've been to Grand Canyon University's basketball arena, you've walked through the Open Gate. This is the most technologically advanced metal detection system on the planet. And so I was privileged to be here a few weeks ago to do a preliminary demonstration. So I think what I'd like to do is just go right into the demo. So the first thing I'm going to do is look at the app. So this basically is controlled by an app. So I'm going to log in. And it's set at 34 inches apart. Ideally, we like to see it at 32 to 34. 33 is the sweet spot. So I'm actually going to make a quick adjustment to put it at about 33. And this will just take a couple seconds to recalibrate. Once the security team sets up the Open Gate at the entries that you specified, we have a test kit. This has a Aries 32 and a few other pieces of gun elements inside this sealed brick. And this is what the security team would do to make sure it's calibrated and ready to go. So when you put the brick through it, it will go off. Put it through the middle, goes off, and nobody can attach a weapon to their ankle or in their shoe because as low as it goes, there's no way to bypass it. So we know that this is calibrated and it's that quick. So we're screening students. So a student basically just comes through with their backpack. Wow. Well, I'll show you what I had in here. A 5-inch all metal knife. Let's set it off. Now I'm going to go back through again. And I'll show you what I had. Master lock, charging cable, metal water bottle, set of headphones. I think that's about it, and a little tape measure. Now, I didn't have it loaded up, but that knife was good enough to set that thing off. Have a question in the back?
Can you put the knife in the metal water bottle and go back through?
Yeah. And the metal water bottle?
In it.
In the water bottle.
Well, this would be I've never done this before.
Yay.
All right.
He was probably sweating.
Not really. So this is a setting. So there's about 5 different settings for the Open Gate. And I'm going to go through them real quickly. I didn't bring a presentation, but I'm just going to quickly walk through it. There's a third-party contractor of the Department of Justice called NILESHE, the National Institute of Law Enforcement Criminal Justice. They set the standard by which CHEA has to build the detectors and adhere to that standard. There's a standard 1, a standard 2, and a guns assembled setting. Standard 1 is what we never use and you will never use. Standard 1 is just for standard long rifles, nothing else. They'll let the handguns go through. That's used in certain situations that the U.S. government uses. And the letter shape 2 is broken down into 3 divisions. Regular 2, which is just 2A, is going to catch the standard size 9mm handgun. 40 caliber, 45 caliber, just about any handgun of standard size that you would see in any store. Then we'll catch the long rifle barrel, TAC-9, MAC-10, any repeating gun. The 2A will catch a 9-inch K-bar Marine Corps designed to kill assault knife. So we don't really recommend a 2A setting for schools. There's a 2BE. E is for enhanced. And that's going to catch everything I just told you in smaller, which is going to be the subcompact handgun. That's the gun that will fit in the palm of your hand, that can come underneath your armpit or be tucked down your sock. It's going to catch most of those handguns. There's not a metal detector on the planet that's going to catch every single handgun. And I just want to make that clear. With a metal detector at the setting of 2BE, you are going to significantly reduce the propensity of a metal repeating mass casualty weapon from entering your campus. There is no totality in a metal detector, but it's going to really drop the propensity for this to happen. The third setting on 2 is called 2BS, S for schools. And that is going to allow 3-ring binders to come through without alerting. And the reason, does anybody have a 3-ring binder in here? No? Okay, imagine as I talk about this. A 3-ring binder, when you open it up, has the 3 metal rings, and it's got a metal stabilizer across the spine. That flat metal stabilizer makes the metal detector think this is a knife, and I'm going to alert. So the 2BS setting is going to allow the most 3-ring binders through. Now, if you have a student that comes through with a loaded backpack, just loaded up with 3 or 4 3-ring binders stacked, it might go off. But a couple of them, it's just going to let them pass through. So, why is that important? The reason the open gate is so popular for stadiums, where mass numbers of crowds come through, is that it's going to catch that weapon, but it's going to allow the things that people carry, most commonly carry through. So cell phones, obviously. So that came through when I did the first walkthrough. So the reason Open Gate is pretty impressive is, and I'm proud to say this, our company, GXC, was exclusively selected to screen the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the very first time ever of the Indy 500 last May, for the entire month of May. And on race day, we had 60 of the open gates set up around 22 entry gates. And we screened 327,000 individuals in 5.5 hours. Everybody got into the speedway without any delays. In fact, it was the fastest, according to Roger Pinsky's team, it was the fastest that group have ever gotten in the speedway. On the school side, we're going to be in Houston on May the 2nd, demonstrating for the Houston Unified or Independent School District, which has 157,000 students, the largest district in Texas. They're looking at going with Open Gate. And we're sure they're going to be impressed with it.
One quick. Vape devices.
Vaping devices. Kind of a weird thing to talk about with Open Gate because this is a metal detector, but most importantly, it's really a weapons detector. It's designed, the algorithm in the brain of the unit is looking to keep a repeating arm. It's looking for densities that are consistent with commercially manufactured firearms going through it. Now, there are some vapes are all over the map. You got big vapes, you got tiny vapes, you got skinny little vapes. At the 2B setting, the larger vape is going to go through. It's going to allow it like the cell phone gets through. But the third setting thank you for the timing of that. So the third setting, so we talked about setting 1, you'll never use setting 1, it's more for rifles. Setting 2, now we're getting the handguns. In setting 2BS, we're letting the 3-ring binders through. The third setting is called guns assembled, GA. And I can switch this thing to guns assembled pretty quickly with the app, to where it's going to catch metal almost down to the zipper composition of metal on a person's pair of pants. So in terms of vapes, if you want to do pop-up screenings outside classrooms periodically to keep the students on their heels, you can move it to GA, and depending on what this district policy is on having students come step out of the classroom and do a random search, we're going to look, you can be checking for vapes that way. But the open gate does not purport 100% vape detection.
Does Faraday cases have any effect on it?
Is what?
The Faraday cases, the ones for, okay, all right.
Laptops are fine.
No, let's talk about laptops. So if I had a video projection screen, I would show you a video that I have of Maryville High School. So in Arizona, Agua Fria, Phoenix Union, Maricopa, Bullhead City, Colorado River City schools have all gone to open gate. Mesa School District is going to open gate. So the question comes down to, what's it going to pick up? It's going to pick up ferrous and non-ferrous metals. So ferrous, right, with iron, high degrees of iron, and non-ferrous, super stainless steel. Weapons like that, it's going to pick up on those settings that I talked about. When we talk about laptop computers, there is not a weapons detector on the planet that's going to let a laptop computer go through without alerting. So the standard operating procedure is, you have a person standing here as a staff member or a volunteer. This is at every high school we've sold into. If the students are coming this way, they're greeting the students. Hi, good morning. Nice to see you. I'll take your laptop. Thank you. And they do a dance. It's just kind of a waltz. And so this is how they get in pretty quickly. The throughput rate of the open gate is 2,000 persons per hour per open gate system on average. If we turn this up to a 2BE, which I have this set on, it's going to alert a little bit more. It's going to alert about 4 to 7%. 4 out of 7 people out of 100 are going to make this trip as a nuisance alarm. They got something in their bag. They might have a big belt buckle, some big piece of jewelry that might make it trip. So the standard operating procedure is laptops get passed around. Just down from the open gate, about 8 feet down, you have a side table. And you have another volunteer or a staff member assigned who, if they see the alert, they'll say, can I have your bag? As soon as the red light goes on, can I have your bag? They separate the student from the open gate, and if there's no pressure, we call it pressure. If there's not much pressure coming from, like a lot of students, we just ask them to run the student through the detector one more time. If it does not go off, you know it's in the bag, right? It would be in the bag if the student doesn't go off on the second time. So in the meantime, usually you can search the bag. You're ruling out a weapon. You're looking to see, is there a weapon in your no, give them the bag back. It's usually 20 seconds. So it's not much of an inconvenience to the student if they trip. Now, the first day of this is going to be a little bit of a circus. Not many people really know what the procedure is going to be. By the 6th or 7th day, it's all second nature to everybody. It just moves through really easily.
Be part of orientation too.
I'm sorry, sir.
That can be part of orientation too. Just video online too.
When a purchase is made, GHC schedules with either the superintendent or the safety and security director to come in for 2 consecutive days. We're in the classroom on the first day, usually in an afternoon, about 2.5 hours. It's not an all-day thing. And we ask the district to gather all personnel who's going to be operating this or be on the search team or the security team. Anybody who touches that in any way, we would like for them to be in class for about 2.5 hours. On the second day at 7 a.m., it'll be the first day of screening. And we are there to handhold the first day of screening while the people who we trained yesterday afternoon will go into position and we will run it. Any other questions?
What's the timeline of if we decide to purchase these? Is there a delay in getting, or what's that timeline looking at?
It's about 4 to 6 weeks right now. Now, that's good news compared to back in October and November, it was 10 to 12 weeks. You know, Maricopa just got theirs not long ago, and they ordered theirs back in early September.
Any others? Any other questions?
Yeah. How would it do for a 25 caliber small handgun? Would it pick something like that up?
Depends on the metallurgy of the gun. Davis 32 typically does not trip at 2BE. There's, like I said, not all tiny little weapons will trip it. 90% will. And that's the level of risk that you're looking at accepting. There's not totality in that. So I couldn't tell you by looking at it right now without having it and running it through it.
Okay.
Mr. Hawks.
Could you speak a little bit on maintenance and warranty type
Yeah.
stuff?
Comes with a 2-year warranty. The warranty can be bought up for an extended warranty for about $100 per year per unit, I believe is what they are. So the 2-year warranty, there's no maintenance whatsoever. These are waterproof. They have a little reflector cap on top, so if they're in the sun, it doesn't get hot, doesn't overheat.
That's good.
You can run them all the way down to below 0 temperature, and they're rainproof, snowproof.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Sure.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Mr. Lavender, I think we have the next thing is actually the.
So the next is matters reserved for board action. A is the weapon detection system. Again, I believe the quote that John has provided us is there. I'm going to ask Dr. Lineberry if he wouldn't mind helping John and help him get to his car. Again, the quote that John provided us was $187,000.40, which include the basis. I think the only thing that maybe it's not on there is ordering the specialized school logo sheets and that. Again, we budgeted 200,000. So, John, you didn't quote the school logos sheets on there, right? That's something we would order separately
They're
from.
quoted on there.
Oh, they are? I didn't see that. Okay.
It should say sleeves.
Did you quote any extra cost for the warranty? Say like if we wanted to
No.
take the warranty out to
That's
5
usually-
years?
Those are usually decided once the delivery's been made. It's an afterthought.
Okay, at this time, I'll entertain any questions, any additional questions. Other than that, I'll entertain a motion.
Well, I have a question for Jeff.
Okay.
Do we have a budget for this? Like, can we fit it into our budget?
Yes.
Okay.
We in our capital planning for right now for this year, we put 200,000 for this.
And then, do the principals and other staff support going this route? I know we did a survey, but I don't know if we've asked individuals at each school if this is something that they support.
Well, we had the survey, and that's the response that we've had in this. And just taking this, I would be interested if we needed to. I don't think we necessarily need to go back for a survey. Is the some of the concern? I know that some people I know, it's like, oh, you've got that. It's the metal detection. It makes it look like it's a prison. Those really don't look like a prison to me, and it's very simple. And
One of the things we do recommend is that you poll the students 3 months, 6 months after the open gates. You'll see a marked difference in their attitudes. They're going to tell you they feel safe.
I just think from my standpoint, this is just an added layer. It's not perfect. Nothing will be perfect, but this is a physical added layer of security that I think it will help. I think just helps some folks and everybody feel a little bit more comfortable and secure in going to schools here. And it's really not that intrusive at all. It's just walking through. Mr. Hunt.
I said this little better than a year ago, and I'm going to say it again because I think it's important. And I would ask any teacher or any student or any parent this question: what is the life of one student worth? And we need to deal with this on that basis, because that's what we're trying to do, is protect our students from losing their life or being paralyzed or having something like that happen for the rest of their life. So what's that worth to this school district? And I think $200,000 is pretty cheap.
Absolutely.
Well, I will say that my mother reminded me of this, but when I went to middle school in St. Louis, we had metal detectors there, and I didn't remember that. It was just a part of my everyday. You walk through the doors, didn't even phase me. And she's like, "You remember they had metal detectors?" So I think in the grand scheme of things, it's not going to negatively impact our students by having them, as far as, and I like the idea of the sleeves and all that.
Mr. Wilkie, I know there's a hand in the audience if you wanted to.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah, good point, man. Thank you. All right, at this time then I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we purchase these metal detector systems at the stated price of $187,000.
Nice second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Mary, if you'll call for a vote.
Mr. Hayes?
Yes.
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 Mr. Hawks?
Yes.
And Mr. Wilkie?
Yes. Motion passes.
So John, we thank you for coming down tonight, bringing the system, and have a safe trip back to.
Yeah, thank you.
Back home.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Lavender?
So again, you have 4 other items. Item B is policy revisions, adoption. I think these have already been through 2 readings. First reading. So
Yeah. Since this is the second reading, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the second reading and adoption of the ASBA policy revisions as listed and presented.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Mary, if you call for the vote, please.
Mr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Hunt?
Yes.
Ms. Harrington?
Yes.
Mr. Hawks?
Yes.
Mr. Wilkie?
Yes.
And then item C is the renewal of 4 contracted service providers we have for our ESS staff. Ms. Daniels is here as well. And so these are 4 individuals we're not able to hire on our own, so we hire through this company for these individuals. Tina, is there anything you want to add to that?
Just that we've been doing that for several years with these people and are very pleased with their work.
So on the left is the company these individuals work for. In the middle are the individuals that we're hiring. And on the right is the service they provide, and then where we get the funding for it. And I recommend approval.
All right, then accept a motion.
I'll make the motion that we accept this.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, Mary, call for the vote.
Mr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Hunt?
Yes.
Ms. Harrington?
Yes.
Mr. Hawks?
Yes.
And Mr. Wilkie?
Yes.
And item D is recoupment of teacher preparation program costs. Mrs. Daniels has done a phenomenal job working with some of our universities and stuff and helping us be able to grow our own and get people that are interested into teaching positions and getting them certified. Tina, is there anything else on this one?
No, this is just an agreement that the employee makes with us. If they choose to go through our program with ASU, they're committing to stay with us and go through the entire program. Or there is I think it was a $4,500 recoupment charge to them.
So it's basically recovering our costs for our time.
Correct.
For these individuals. Okay.
Okay.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we accept this contract as stated.
Second.
We have a motion, and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to say I read over this contract and I think that it's an excellent contract. I like everything that it said, especially in the fact that if they did not continue on with that education and give service back to the school district, that we could move forward and recoup our cost. I like that idea. I think we should do more of that.
Absolutely concur. That's what I found about this. It's a very positive thing. So thank you for all the hard work that went into developing this. And it's just real. It's reasonable. You know, we're going to put this effort into. We're going to help you get trained up because we want to grow our own. But it does have that clause in there that says if you're not going to do it, then we're going to recoup something from you. So I think it's very fair, and I think it's very, very well done. All right. No other discussions? Then Mary for the vote.
Mr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Hunt?
Yes.
Mrs. Harrington?
Yes.
Mr. Hawk?
Yes.
And Mr. Wilkie?
Yes. All right.
And then item E, we had some generous donations this month. We had $1,000 for our Casa Grande Union Junior ROTC program from the Casa Grande Rotary Foundation. For Casa Grande Union DECA, we had $500 from Anthony and Marianne Edwards and $1,000 from Esmeralda Tejada. And then we also got an $1,800 donation from the Kiwanis Club for our CG Kiwanis track meet, which was held last Friday, and $250 from Fitzgibbon's Law Office. And then O'Neill and Steiner donated $250 to our Casa Grande Union High Spirit line. And we're very thankful to all of these individuals and their generous donations.
I move then that we approve the donations as presented.
Second.
Second. And I,
Motion, a second, and any
and I
discussion?
I just want to give a shout out to the Kiwanis Club and the track team and their coaches. That was a amazingly run track meet last Friday. Everybody was really friendly. There were a lot of other teams there. It ran smooth. It got started on time, ended in a timely manner. So I just wanted to say great job.
Yeah, and again, thank you all for the generous donations to the school, supporting our schools. It's a wonderful community we live in, so just appreciate it.
We had 14 schools attend the track meet, so that was very nice.
It's awesome. All right, without further discussion, Mary, if you call for the vote.
Mr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Hunt?
Yes.
Mrs. Harrington?
Yes.
Mr. Hawk?
Yes.
And Mr. Wilkie?
Yes. All right. Come to the call to the public section of the meeting. Just note the request to speak to the governing board pursuant to ARS 38-431.02.h. The board may take an open call to the public during a public meeting, subject to reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions to allow individuals to address the public body on any issue within the jurisdiction of the public body. At the conclusion of an open call to the public, individual board members may respond to criticism made by those who have addressed the board, may ask staff to review a matter, or may ask that a matter be put on future agenda. However, members of the board shall not discuss or take legal action on matters raised during an open call to the public unless the matters are properly noticed for discussion and legal action. During an open call, the board requests the speakers refrain from voicing complaints against school personnel or any person connected with the district, as it may impact due process rights. Policies KE, KEB, KED are provided by the board for disposition of legitimate complaints, including those involving individuals. So at this time, we open it up to 3 minutes to be respectful for everyone. 3 minutes. And so 3 minutes, you have 3 minutes to speak. And then as the 3 minutes concludes, we will ask you just please sit down promptly so that the next person has time to come up here. So with that, I will call Sawyer Barth. All right.
Good evening, Superintendent Lavender, Mrs. Daniels, and school board members. My name is Sawyer Barth. I'm a sophomore at Casa Grande Union High School. And today I'm raising an issue that has negatively impacted students for far too long, the 80-20 grading policy. For those who are unfamiliar with this policy, 80% of a student's grade is measured off of tests and projects while the remaining 20% is measured off of classwork. This policy is negatively impacting students and their grades. The system punishes the high achieving students. A student could receive A's on all of their assignments, but when for a unit, but when they approach the test and they happen to get a B on it, they have a B in the class now. You see, not only, unfortunately, because the classwork is valued at a 20% portion, it has very little impact on your grade. So even though you got that B and you got A's on the next classwork for the next assignment for the next unit, that it doesn't have much of an effect on your grade because it's valued at such a little percentile. It's my understanding that this is based off of college grading policies, but here's the thing, we're not college students. This policy impacted me last year in geometry. I received an 84% on a test, and then my teacher disappeared for the remainder of the semester. And because this test was weighted so heavily, I was unable to fix that, get it up to an A, and that is now a dent on my GPA. And I think that this is an important thing to note. Oftentimes when people talk about grading policies, they don't take into consideration the students who are achieving, the students who are trying to get high grades. So this is coming from someone who cares a lot about their academics, cares a lot about their grades. And I just want to say that the reason why I haven't brought this issue up earlier, mainly is because last year I was fighting a battle with leukemia, still fighting it today. And I'm finally healthy enough to get to a point where I can bring this up to the school board. But I just ask you that you take into consideration my perspective and create a more balanced grading policy. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Ms. Daniels currently, right now, it has a grading committee that she is working with, and we're looking at those policies.
Good.
And thank you, Sawyer. It's good to see you.
Yvonne Sai?
Hi, board and parents and teachers. This is a continuation of my March report, and it is a recommendation. So specifically for the addiction problem in school, Teen Challenge was founded by David Wilkerson in 1958 in Brooklyn, New York, and serving teenage gangs through rehab. And their success rate has been proven to be 86%. And David Wilkerson is revered as the modern day Moses. And you might have read his book, The Cross and the Switchblade, or watched the movie. And Teen Challenge has grown to 215 centers in the United States and 1,000 plus internationally. And Teen Challenge of Arizona has a school outreach program called Stay Sharp. It is free to schools. And TCAZ team will work with the students on prevention and quitting addictions. Usually the program is held on our school day and in a general assembly. And it lasts about 60 to 90 minutes. And according to schools' specific requests. And if district is interested, let's also ask parents and see if they welcome such a program for their children. And so now I will conclude with a short prayer. Almighty God, we acknowledge our absolute dependence upon you. We beg your mass deliverance upon our thousands of addicted children and broken families. Do not allow us to continually destroy our children. Deliver our non-teaching teachers too, the entire public school system and our country. In Jesus' mighty name, amen. And I know some teachers may be upset about what I said in March. I'm here. I can give you a little more specifics if you like to know, and also to learn about your perspectives as well. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Mr. Noel Reck.
I'm Noel Reck, a retired teacher and coach and current stakeholder in the district. First, I take no pleasure in speaking before the board tonight. I wish it wasn't necessary. Since I moved here, there have been 3 Casa Grande Union High School Governing Board resignations that Pinal County Supervisor of Public Instruction Joe Broussard has filled. The appointments of Mr. Hennis and current member Mr. Wilkie weren't controversial, both bringing educational experience to the board. However, the recent appointment of Mr. Hawks is problematic, to say the least, in both the who and the how. With no pertinent information regarding the appointment being disseminated to the public by Supervisor Broussard, I believe students, staff, and the community have reason to question where Mr. Hawks stands regarding the educational systems, topics, issues, and philosophies as he assumes his seat on the board. So tonight I asked Mr. Hawks to inform the public as to his positions. To be fair, that probably needs to be agendized for a future meeting to allow for time to do the research necessary. However, if the research was done ahead of the appointment and subsequent swearing in, as one would expect, perhaps the positions can be delineated in quick fashion. What are your positions on universal vouchers, ELL programs, IEPs, block scheduling, interdisciplinary instruction, the use of ACT and SAT for college admission, authentic assessments, and testing in general? What about prayer in school? If so, Christian only? Should the 10 Commandments be posted? What about book bans? What about State Superintendent Horn's inane squeal on the teacher hotline, his ill-considered association with PragerU, and his dogmatic positions on ELL programs? The Arizona legislation on education, specific or in general? What about CRT, DEI, the woke term, and LGBTQ students, staff, and community members? Let me answer that question myself by presenting some quotes from the homepage of the website of the organization that Mr. Hawks heads, Casa Grande Conservative Freedom Lovers. Describing the organization, quote, "We are a private group and do not accept communists, the woke, or left or far left pinheads," unquote. Quote, "This site recognizes 2 sexes only, man and woman. If you want to promote LGBTQ, please find another forum to join. I don't dislike you, but I can't accept your lifestyle," unquote. These quotes and the underlying attitudes behind them indicate a mistake has been made in the inexplicable appointment of Mr. Hawks over far more qualified candidates by Supervisor Broussard. She and Mr. Hawks will stand before the voters in November. May the voters reverse this appointment and abuse of office by electing candidates with such qualities as strong community connections, volunteer engagement, educational experience, and a non-ideological approach to educating our future. Thank you.
Thank you. Ralph Achu? Achu. My apologies.
Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Ralph Achu, community activist. Nonpartisan public school boards shouldn't be controversial, provocative, or ideological. They should function solely for the purpose of providing a safe, high-caliber educational environment for every student. Advancing a political, religious, or ideological agenda is both counterproductive and dangerous. This board has already stepped into what many in our community see as a controversial, provocative, and ideological issue. By firing a Black female superintendent without cause, this board drew much needed scrutiny. Its disregard for wasting hundreds of thousands of taxpayer dollars in a contract buyout must not be followed by flushing thousands more in legal fees defending potential lawsuits. Many of us are deeply concerned that the recent appointment made by Pinal County Superintendent of Education has opened the door for board decisions that could have a negative impact on students, teachers, and staff. Close attention will be paid to any attempts to post religious material in classrooms, initiate Bible studies, ban books, discriminate against any LGBTQ, or to partner with PragerU, the non-educational propaganda entity espousing an extremist right-wing agenda that distorts American history and denies science. Satan is not walking our school corridors, nor are they grooming grounds for gender identity change. While continuing to provide historically correct education, public schools are not offering classes on critical race theory. School board members who have actively spread those lies while speaking out at calls to the public must refrain from doing so in their official capacity. To be clear, I am an active Arizona Democrat at the precinct level and as a member of the state party's executive committee. I'm a proud carrying member of a union, the ACLU, the NAACP, the Sierra Club, Planned Parenthood, and the Secular Coalition. But in 2023, as chairperson of the Democrats of Casa Grande, I was invited to support and participate in the school override campaigns. And I was thrilled to see these critically needed measures pass. However, I did not ask to be appointed to a school board position, nor am I a candidate for any such seat. There's a big difference between shooting a promotional video and actively running to push an ideological agenda. I believe these board positions should remain nonpartisan and never be controversial, provocative, or ideological. Shamefully, Superintendent Jill Broussard doesn't agree. I look forward to seeing her egregious mistake corrected this November. Thanks for your time and attention.
Thank you. Moving on to the consent agenda, Mr. Lavender. These items under the consent agenda can be taken. Correct me if I.
Can I say something?
Yes.
To that? To both you gentlemen, I have nothing against you. I have nothing against any person that I could think of. Actions is a little bit different, and I think all of us reserve the right as human beings to not like everybody's actions. Now, this is a nonpartisan position, and there's 4 other members here that will keep me in line if you think that I step out of line. But if you have a problem, you could take it up with the voters. I passed everything that I needed to pass to get into this position. I love these kids, and all I want to do is what's best for them. And that's what we all should be looking for, is what's best for the kids, not anything political. We need to take politics out of these schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hawks. Now the consent agenda, items listed under consent agenda A through J can be taken under one vote unless a board member would like to take any of them off for further discussion. I'm tracking that correctly. Is there anyone who has any questions about any of these items? If not, I will accept a motion.
I move that we approve the consent agenda items A through J as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Barry, if you call for the vote.
Mr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Hunt?
Yes.
Mrs. Harrington?
Yes.
Mr. Hawks?
Yes.
And Mr. Book?
Yes, and this concludes tonight's meeting. Thank you very much.
At least you could have stuck up for me.
Knew it would be.
It's like no censorship. I'm like,
You know,
3 minutes.
if I have the leader of the Democratic